Hi everyone, and welcome back to a new video. This week I'm sharing with you how I created Memories of Snow Days, which is a collection of paintings that somewhat nostalgic. They remind me of snow days living on the East Coast and when I was younger. I just basically put together a few images that remind me of good times, and I combine them into a finished print, which I will show you at the end of the video. So I will have voiceover throughout the video just talking about each memory and why I picked the image that I picked, and tell you little stories that kind of go alongside them. But hopefully you can also find yourself in these paintings, and you can also be taken back and whisked away to this time that was so magical to me when I was growing up. Kind of still is. Like every time it snows I still think about that. If you're not already, please consider subscribing to my channel so that it helps to grow the community, and I will come back at the end of the video to show you the finished print, how I put it together. I'll see you soon. So the first thing I did to start out this collection was I went down memory lane and I wrote down for myself my favorite parts about snow days, and I just made a massive list of things that if I think of them, they instantly take me back to a snow day. So the first, which what I ended up doing, was sketching a bunch of them on these tiny sheets of paper, because if you know me, I tend to paint big and get overwhelmed because of how much time it'll take me to complete. So with this collection, just like all the others, I really wanted to get them done in a decent amount of time, so I made sure to paint them on these tiny 3x3 watercolor paper. I can't remember if they're 3x3 or 4x4. I think they're 3x3 inches. So I had my list of memories that really take me back to snow days, and this is more for when I was in school or when I was a little bit younger. I guess the earliest memory of snow for me was when I first moved from Africa to Germany. I had lived in Europe before when I was a lot younger. My parents were both going to university in France, in the south of France, and so we all lived there at the time in Montpellier, and we must have obviously had some cold weather and winter and stuff, because I do have pictures of myself as a 3-year-old, 4-year-old wearing very heavy coats and stuff, so I'm sure there was winter, but I don't remember it. I was much too young. However, when we were landing in, I think actually it was in Germany, we landed in Brussels, Belgium first. That's where my dad's older brother used to live, in Waterloo. We landed in Brussels, and this is when I was 8 years old, maybe 9. I think it was actually the day I turned 9. The day we traveled was the day of my 9th birthday. So I remember my mom waking me on the plane and, you know, shuffling through her bag and telling me to put on my gloves and put on my earmuffs and put on my hat, and I was like, these are so warm, why do I need this? She was like, oh, it's warm now, but once the plane lands it's going to be very cold. You know, and she even made a joke that it'll be so cold you won't even feel your ears and you'll think your ears fell off. And I giggled at that, and you know, she had those mitts, you know, the ones that are like one shape, like it's just an oval that you just have like your hand, like your whole hand, 4 fingers are in one space and then the thumb is in one space. I remember those. They were kind of fluffy and like a light baby pink color. She put earmuffs on me. They were white earmuffs, the super fluffy kind, and she made sure my coat was really tight on, my scarf was snug, and we walked out of the plane, and sure enough I looked up and there were these tiny little things floating up in the air. The wind was brutally cold on my face, but I remember just the smell of it. It's hard to describe what snow smells like if you've never been anywhere that has snow. There's just nothing like it. It has kind of like a, I don't know, it has a smell. So anyway, the first thing I did was try to catch some of those snowflakes, which at the time I didn't know they were snowflakes, but they fell on my nose and they fell on my eyes and on my cheeks, and they felt really cold. And I remember thinking, oh, this is just like ice cream, it's like falling on my face. So I stuck my tongue out to try and catch some of it. And yeah, so anytime I smell snow, the first thing I see in my mind is my little 8-year-old self on that ramp from the plane, about to walk down the steps, because we were right on the tarmac walking down the steps towards the terminal. There wasn't like that gate, you know, that kind of connects, that hallway thing that connects to the airplane door. We just, you know, from the airplane door we were outside, like we took the stairs to beyond the tarmac and then walked into the building. So anyway, that image of the child lifting up their head, sticking their tongue out to catch snowflakes, that is Sandra first time in a place that snows, or that I remember. And ever since then, anytime it snowed and I was at school or we were outside on recess break or anything, if it started to snow while I was outside, the first thing I did was always tilt my head up and stick my tongue out. And it just, I don't know, nothing takes me back like that little moment there. I moved back to Africa, and after several years relocated to the US. So I moved to the US when I was 16, just before I turned 17. I moved to Arlington, Virginia. That's the first city that I lived in. And I went to school at the same school as Sandra Bullock. I found out much later on, Washington Lee High, so good times. But when we had snow days then, and we would have snowball fights with the kids in the neighborhood, some of the kids from my bus, I remember some of us trying to hide behind the snowman or hide behind like the buses or the cars or something, and the snowman would always get it because they were in the way. So even though I didn't record that part, if you can kind of see on the screen somewhere, there's a snow angel that I painted. I did that one live on Instagram, and I'm pretty sure I did the snowman getting hit by all the snowflakes as well on an Instagram live. I just love how he looks. He's so cute, and it just tugs at your heart, doesn't it, that he got smacked in the face by snowballs from these nasty kids. But those were things that I mean, I feel like every kid that has had a snow day, especially when it's a snow day where there's no school, like the first thing we all used to do was run outside and make snow angels. Like we'd wake up to this massive amount of snow on the ground. Well, the first thing I always did was go watch the news, because I don't know how it is where you live, but in the US at least, whenever there's inclement weather, you need to be watching the news at 6 a.m. to double check whether your school is closed or not. That's where all the school closures were announced. And for us, my younger sisters and I, by that time, I mean, this is probably much later, but much later on, when my two younger siblings also moved to the US with us, we would turn on the TV and kind of look at it from the hallway to see if our school was closed, and like whether we should be racing to get ready for the school bus, or whether we could go back under the covers, like stay warm and just huddle in, warm ourselves up back under our covers. But yeah, that whole thing of watching the news to know whether school was closed or not, that's definitely been something that I often think about whenever there's a snow day, whenever a school is closed for some reason. Like, I don't really watch the news right now. I mean, it's always bad, so I kind of avoid it, to be honest. But I just thought of that. Like, so that had to make it on the list of things that remind me of snow days, because, I mean, there wasn't one time when it snowed when I was in high school that I didn't rush to check if my school was closed or not. When I lived in Maryland, my school was always closed. But when I lived in Virginia, they weren't worried about that. They were like, is it a blizzard? All right, we'll give you 2 hours. The rest of the time it's like, nope, this is how it is around here. Just get your gear and get to school. But anyway, then I had just painted a snowflake, because why not? There are snowflakes, obviously. So I ended up with these 5 images. for the collection, but you'll see how I did on the print in the end. It felt like they were all the same size, so I didn't really want to have equal sizes of them on the print. So what I ended up doing was removing the backgrounds. Once I scanned it in, removing the background from the snowflakes and just kind of sprinkling them around the rest of the print. So you'll see in a second how it looks, but hope you enjoyed this. Thanks again for joining, and I can't wait to show you what I painted next. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for sticking around. If you enjoyed it, put a little snowflake in the comments so I know you saw all the way to the end. So this is what I ended up making as a finished product. I just put one of each of the paintings, and I kind of put a few snowflakes around. You can kind of see some of the snowflakes that I've put around the print, and it is also textured paper, which is my favorite to use. So I really like the finished product. I love how it came out. It is very nostalgic to me. Every single one of these things, they bring up so many memories, and I was really excited to capture this. So it took a while to share it here, but I'm gonna keep getting you caught up on all the paintings that I do as I do them. If you're not already following me and a member of my Patreon community, it is where I show every single one of these, all these time lapses of me creating these paintings. I do them live, so sometimes I do them live on Instagram for anyone, and sometimes I do like a private live for my patrons. I'm actually working out a way to make that part more efficient, so it might end up being more on YouTube with a private link for patrons to join. So whenever I create the designs for each of these, I go through lots and lots of research. I find a whole bunch of pictures of examples. I get feedback from people either on Instagram or on Patreon directly, and patrons always have first dibs, so a lot of times they'll make the suggestion for what I'm painting next. If you ever want to be included and be part of the creating process, then feel free to join me on Patreon. For all members, sometimes I do polls, but definitely from the $2 tier and above, all the patrons there get to see every single thing I do, and I share all of the behind the scenes with all paying members. So I hope you'll join us. I'll have links everywhere, but until next time, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.